Hey guys, so hello. I have a little bit of a cold right now. Not feeling the best, so that's why I sound like this. But yeah, so I don't know, I want to sit down and film a vlog. I'm hoping and anticipating this to be kind of short because I didn't prepare what I was gonna say at all. It was more so just like wanting to share some candid thoughts because I actually did, and I know I say this all the time, but I did film a vlog, and I actually filmed that 3 times. It was me talking about reprocessing because I just had like my full first reprocessing session. It was still a practice memory and it was a different memory, but we actually got through the whole process this time because we started at like the very beginning of the session, and that was really interesting how that went. But yeah, I filmed again three videos, filmed it 3 times talking about that, and I don't know, I tend to operate from my gut, and for some reason I was like, I don't really feel like sharing this video. I want to share a different one. I want to talk about something different. And so I'm definitely going to talk about reprocessing, not in this video, but to come, because I'm starting to get into that segment of EMDR, and I know that is like what probably people who are going through EMDR or curious about it, or possibly considering going through it themselves, would want to hear about. And so I definitely want to share that. But I think I'm gonna wait till I have till I actually reprocess like a quote unquote real traumatic memory. But yeah, so anyways, I just have been thinking a lot about like this process and how things have been like shifting, because so I went to Florida, and so I didn't have therapy last week. Florida was nice, by the way. It was warm, and so I feel like that break has allowed me to really like reflect on stuff. I mean, that's kind of all I've been doing the past couple months, is reflecting. But it was a little different just because, I don't know, I feel like when I have therapy sessions, it's kind of like, because it's so cyclical, it's like you go to therapy, the waters get like shaken up a bit in a good way, and then as the week goes out, it like starts to settle, and then Monday rolls around and the process kind of repeats itself. But because I've had a break, I feel like things have been stiller, and I've had more time to kind of I don't know, rely on my own devices to kind of sort through things without like the guidance of my therapist, and that has been really interesting and honestly really beneficial. But I was talking about this the other day with my friend Abby, and who has also gone through EMDR, and I was like, yeah, I kind of feel like the past couple months, like going through this process and trying to heal trauma, feels like the dark night of the soul, if you guys are familiar with that. I don't really even know how to entirely describe what that is, and I think too it's largely subjective, but I don't know, I feel like that is such a great way to describe healing trauma, because so many of us don't do that. Like, so many of us spend our lives kind of running from things that we're scared of, and I don't know, that's perfectly human and understandable. And I think we too, like, we live such busy lives that a lot of the times we don't realize that something is wrong, and it's something that I see in like a lot of the people who are closest to me. And I don't know, I don't want that to come off as like I'm sitting on like my pedestal just judging everybody else. It's more just like, it's not that. It's that with like my understanding of trauma and how things work, it's very easy for me to like identify what's going on, if that makes sense. Like when someone's having like a trauma reaction, or I don't know, there's probably like a more eloquent way to say that, but also too just being very observant in nature. I don't know, since like beginning to learn about trauma and the brain, like how it's so connected to our bodies and the way that we store things, it's really just changed how I see everything. And yeah, where was I going with that? But yeah, I don't know, it's really interesting, like being on this journey, and it kind of feels like just navigating through a fog. And it's funny because that's what living with trauma is like in general, is kind of just like living in this fog. And that's why I use that imagery in Paper Birds specifically. But I feel like with trauma, when you're just living with it and you're just trying to live around it, you're kind of being dragged around, like you don't have any agency. Whereas with deciding to heal, you start to gain agency, but it's like you're dragging yourself around and you don't really know where you're going. You're just kind of hope that you're getting somewhere. And a metaphor, another metaphor that kind of came to mind the other day was, it's a lot like healing and specifically like doing EMDR is a lot like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube, if you've ever done that. And you'll be like moving all these different parts and puzzle pieces around, and you don't feel like, or not even that you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, but more so you just don't know if you're getting anywhere. But then things start to click into place and you're like, oh, half this side is orange now. And it's a lot like that, because you are making progress, but like you can't really see it until something like sudden happens, like a breakthrough, or I don't know, some kind of realization. And but it wasn't sudden, it was a gradual process. But yeah, I don't know, it's just been weird. It's just been like a weird journey. And I feel like it's been like a process of deconstruction, because there's so many things. My parents just got home. My niece's birthday party was today, but since I wasn't feeling well, I didn't go. But I don't know, I don't know, when I've been like on this journey, like I was always, I think, pretty self-aware as far as like, I don't know, why I thought the way that I did, or why I behaved the way that I did, or why I believed the things that I did. But I honestly, it's kind of like, before I only really had the tip of the iceberg, and now since like doing trauma therapy and like really tackling things head on, it's like everything has been revealed, and it's continuing to reveal like more and more stuff that I didn't even know about. And that, it's helpful, but it's also really hard, because it can be really overwhelming. And especially too, like when you're going through it, it's hard to maintain the energy to want to get better. Right now I can say that that's not something I'm dealing with. Actually, right now I feel really motivated and driven for some reason. But that's definitely something that bubbles up. Like it's kind of like you have a house and then you have to like disassemble the whole thing. Actually, you know what, a better analogy is kind of like when, I remember when I was in high school, I used to rearrange my room a lot, because I don't know, I just did it because I don't know, I just like the change, I guess. Kind of the same thing like with my hair. And I remember it would take me hours to do, because I'd have to like move big things of furniture around. And I remember like halfway through it, when my room was like a mess and everything was in disarray, and things had moved, and like I'd gotten my bed to the other side of the room and my desk up front and like all this other stuff, but I just would be exhausted and just kind of like laying on the bed being like, damn, I really wish I hadn't started this. Like, what is the point? And that's kind of what healing is like. Like, it's just like, I feel like you start really strong and then you get really exhausted, and then you kind of ping pong back between like being exhausted and being really motivated. So it's definitely like an up and down. But yeah, I forget where he's going with that. But too, some of the positives is like with, for example, I've been getting really into mindfulness, or trying to. Actually, cute story. So I know I buy books from like thrift. Sorry. I've just started getting into reading more this past year because of my friend Abby, and because we have like a book club now. But what was I gonna say? Yes, but I've been reading more, and just like on my own, like even stuff that isn't in book club. And I was like, you know, I should become a member of the library so I don't have to keep like purchasing books. Even though I use thrift books generally, which is cheaper. And I went back to the library, which I hadn't been to like since I was 10. And I was like at the library, and I was like, okay, I want to sign up for a library card. And the girl at the front desk was like she's really cool. I want to be friends with her. And I was like, yeah, I haven't been here in like over a decade. And she goes, well, welcome back. And for some reason, like saying welcome back was like just the most comforting thing ever. I don't know. But yeah, so I look forward to going back there. But anyways, I've been reading a lot of books about mindfulness because that for me, I don't know, I know that the whole thing about meditation is like everyone, when you're starting it, you feel like you're bad at it. But I feel like I'm still kind of making my way to meditation, I guess. I don't know, I really should. But anyways, I feel like reading about mindfulness is kind of like my own way of meditation, and that has really helped me kind of rewire my brain and be more mindful. And getting into that has kind of changed my outlook on life, because I feel like I can see it's kind of like opened up the doorway of spirituality more. And I don't even know how to describe that, like not in like a religious sense, or even like in the way that I see like influencers talk about spirituality on Instagram. Like it's more just like, at least right now, it's like this philosophy where deep down inside, like our natural resting state is peace and joy. Like I really do believe that now. And that's not something that I believed before. And I think, I don't know, in our culture, we're like really, I don't even think spirituality really exists, because as far as like, because I think people tend to think of it as religion. And even if people say, like, for example, I don't know, well, I was gonna say something, but like maybe I shouldn't. Maybe that's not relevant. But anyways, I don't know what I was saying now. I forget, but yeah, I feel like there's such a lack of that in our culture. I kind of think of spirituality now as synonymous with mindfulness, even if that's not true. I know it's subjective, so I feel like it doesn't really matter. Like who cares? It's all a construct. Like if I'm very much a person like of the philosophy that if something works for you and you're not harming anybody else, go for it. And I feel like really like the way that, not to be one of those people who are like, we live in a society, but the way that things are structured, like it's so go, 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 so like, what are you doing to move up the ladder? How are you spending your time? Like, be productive. And that's such like in direct contrast of like how nature is and how free flowing things are, and how, I don't know, time doesn't exist in nature. Time is a construct. And I don't know. Eckhart Tolle, who wrote The Power of Now, which I read and I actually really liked. There's divided opinions on that, but I really liked it. He talked about like time being a prison that you had to free yourself from. And I know that sounds like, I don't know, maybe I'm just insecure because I feel like I have to preface by being like, I know that sounds stupid, but honestly, yeah, that's kind of true. Just because like, I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it. I'm kind of at a loss for words right now, so maybe it wasn't the best time to sit down and film a vlog. But yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is like, the more that I've healed, like the more that I'm aware of just like how much the way that our world is structured just like isn't serving us, and how it kind of feels like in a lot of ways we're getting farther and farther away from kind of like the core things that bring humans like joy and peace, like being present, like connecting with other people, just being in nature and doing things you love for the love of it. Like I feel like we're kind of getting farther and farther away from that stuff as technology progresses, which is ironic because you'd think it'd be the other way around. But yeah, that was just kind of a random spiel. But yeah, so the moral of the story is it's been an interesting journey, and it's been hard, but I've also seen improvements. And honestly, today, even though I did like a lot of things that were not serving me, honestly, in direct, like it was actually things that were blatantly harmful for me, which I'm not proud of, but I don't know. I didn't beat myself up over it, but I still feel like more at peace, knock on wood. Just because, I don't know, maybe too, it's like starting to slowly but surely come out of fight or flight mode. But yeah, I don't know. And I think the other thing that, like, the biggest thing right now that I'm kind of tackling internally, not even really in therapy, I feel like I just stuck my tongue out weird, and I'm sorry, that probably was gross. But it's just my obsession and fixation's probably a better word, on success and how tied my identity is to that, because I think a lot of it, the majority of it, goes back to that being a coping mechanism for me. Because when I was in high school, I was like, I'm either gonna die or I'm going to just be like super famous and talented and hot and loved. And so it's okay that it's shitty right now, because that is my future for sure. It's either one of those two things. Either I don't have to worry about anything, or I don't have to worry about anything. So now that I'm 22, and it's kind of like the direct opposite of that. I'm alive, and I also have PTSD, and now I have to put myself through trauma therapy, which costs thousands of dollars. So it's kind of shitty, but also, like, I don't know, the nuances and the jagged edges have been like really beautiful, and like connecting with people. Like, for example, I got to talk to this woman, Mona, who I've talked about before. She's a friend of mine, but she's from NAMI, who I met at NCUR, and who also invited me to present at that college in Tulsa a couple weeks back. And she has been through like a lot of the things that I've been through, and she's been through EMDR. And the other night she was like, I have to let you in on a secret. Getting older is the shit. And it was just really cool to hear someone talk about that. And actually something really cool that I wanted to bring up, and I didn't even try to make this tie in, but it does perfectly, is she said something that actually really stuck with me, and I think that's kind of why I'm in a good mood. Is she said that, because I was asking, so surprise, we're working on like putting together this online support group for women in their 20s struggling with anxiety, and I'll post about that on my Instagram soon when I get something together. And my Instagram is a.c.brook, which I'm guessing most of you are from there, but if you're not, that's my Instagram. And I was asking her, because this is just how my brain thinks, which is funny because it's gonna be, you'll see how it's like in contrast to how Mona thinks, but I was like, okay, like, what do you see the future of this project as? Because I was thinking from like a branding perspective. And she was like, I don't know. And she was telling me how, she was like, I see the present with just such clarity. Like, I see every day with such clarity, but the future, I don't really know. Like, and she described it as like a flower, and she said that it's more beautiful. She thinks it'll turn out more beautiful, like the future, if she doesn't like cut and prune it, like just lets it be whatever it's supposed to be. And the way that she said it was like so poetic. I definitely didn't do it justice. And it's funny because she wasn't even trying. It was just like a conversation over Zoom late at night, and it was just this most like profound thing. And I don't know, even though I know that I need to like be more like that, because I really am in a lot of ways stuck in the future, because I'm like, in the future I will be the ideal version of myself, and I'll have like accomplished stuff and be really successful, and everything will be great, because my worth is still tied to that. But like hearing her talk about seeing the present with such clarity and just kind of letting go of the future, I don't know, it just gave me like hope that like, oh, that's something that you can do, and it's not a death sentence. Because I think that's kind of what letting go of that idea of my future feels like feeling like I have to be a certain way. And I think that's part of the reason why, or where some of my unhappiness stems from, is because I'm not where I thought I'd be, and because of that I feel like I failed, and because of that I feel like it's game over, even though that's such a, I don't know, backwards concept. Like, I'm 22, I have time. So yeah, but yeah, letting go really does feel like some kind of death, because I have had such a grip on that for so long. Just like clinging to this idea that like I will be this certain person that I've made out in my head, when a lot of those facets of that person are kind of completely out of my control. So I don't know, I want to find a way to focus more on like, I saw a post recently that said something along the lines of like, don't, like when you set certain goals for yourself, I forget what the wording was, and so I'm kind of probably gonna butcher this, but hopefully this will still be like something, I don't know, insightful. But it said something about like not setting specific goals, like for example, wanting to be a New York Times best-selling author, because that's something that's out of your hands. But you know what kind of goal and two, if you reach it, like what do you do now? Like you hit that goal. Whereas like something like, oh, I want to become a better writer, like that's something that no one can take away from you, and that's something that you can keep working on for the rest of your life. So yeah, I know the philosophy probably sounds bad based on how I described it, but the post was really good and really insightful, and I'll try to find it. And if I do find it, I will post it on the Project Paperbirds Instagram. But yeah, that's who I want to be, I guess, or that's who I want to be, if that makes sense. Because yeah, I think I'm still caught up on like image and milestones, and how things look on paper, when really the real fulfillment in life comes from like the more internal stuff. So yeah, and that's what I've been learning, and I wish I could put it into words better, because I feel like that was just a bunch of word salad. But I don't know, maybe that makes sense. But yeah, so that has been kind of like what the last couple months have looked like. And I've been kind of a hermit lately, and sorry about that. I don't know. I deactivated my personal Instagram, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because, one last thing before I finish this, kind of tying back to like image, I had mentioned in my previous vlogs that I had dealt a lot with like comparing myself to people, and I've noticed that since I deactivated my personal Instagram, because I was like, you know what, I want to take some of the noise out of my life, because I was spending a lot of time on there, and I've been just trying in general to like spend less time on my phone. Didn't do a good job of that today, because I spent like all my time on my phone just like doom scrolling. YouTube shorts are addicting, I'm sorry, they're horrible, but they're addicting. So yeah, I probably need to get off here too. I'm just kidding. But yeah, since I did that, I've noticed that I've been doing that less. Like that hasn't even been something that's been really on my radar much, just because I don't know, I just like took that variable out, and so that's made it better. So yeah, I guess the message there is like, be cognizant of your social media usage, and maybe play around with stuff if you think maybe something has like a role in your level of happiness. But yeah, sorry again for just rambling, and I think that's everything. Hope you guys stay warm and have a good weekend.